The Air Force generals laughed when Captain Victoria Phantom Blake requested B-2 bomber assignment, too inexperienced for our most advanced aircraft. 6 hours later, 12 enemy military bases were smoking craters, and those generals learned why stealth bombers were made for pilots like her. Meet Captain Victoria Blake, 29 years old, auburn hair always secured in regulation style, green eyes that could navigate the most complex airspace while maintaining perfect situational awareness. For 3 years, she had been flying F-16 Fighting Falcons with exceptional skill, but to most Air Force leadership, she was still the female pilot who needed more experience before handling the military's most sophisticated and expensive aircraft. Victoria's journey to becoming one of the most capable pilots in the Air Force had begun in rural Nevada, where her grandfather, a retired Air Force colonel, had taught her that flying wasn't just about controlling an aircraft. It was about thinking in 3 dimensions while making split-second decisions that could determine the outcome of entire military operations. Her grandfather, Colonel Benjamin Sky King Blake, had been one of the Air Force's most decorated bomber pilots during the Cold War, flying B-52 Stratofortresses on missions that required precision navigation over vast distances and the ability to deliver devastating firepower with surgical accuracy. His understanding of strategic bombing operations had shaped Victoria's appreciation for the intellectual challenges of long-range precision strikes. Colonel Blake had flown 127 combat missions during his career, including operations over Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, and various classified missions that required flying massive strategic bombers through heavily defended airspace while maintaining perfect navigation accuracy and weapons delivery precision. His experience had taught him that successful bombing operations required more than just flying skills. They demanded strategic thinking and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing tactical situations. During Victoria's childhood, her grandfather had shared stories about flying in weather conditions that grounded other aircraft, navigating using celestial navigation when electronic systems failed, and maintaining formation integrity during missions that lasted over 20 hours. These stories had instilled in her an understanding that advanced aircraft operations required mental toughness and analytical thinking that went far beyond basic pilot training. "Little aviator," he would tell her during their weekend flights in his civilian aircraft, "any pilot can fly straight and level. But a true bomber pilot understands that sometimes one mission can change the course of history. The responsibility that comes with controlling that kind of firepower is greater than the skill required to deliver it." The civilian aircraft that Colonel Blake used for training Victoria was a modified Cessna 172 equipped with advanced navigation equipment and flight computers that simulated the complex systems found in military aircraft. Through hundreds of hours of flight training, Victoria learned to operate sophisticated equipment while maintaining perfect situational awareness and making rapid calculations required for precision flying. Victoria had enlisted in the Air Force at age 22 after graduating from University of Nevada with a degree in aerospace engineering and a burning desire to fly the most advanced aircraft in the American arsenal. Her academic background in engineering had given her an understanding of aircraft systems that exceeded most pilots, and her analytical approach to flight operations had impressed instructors throughout her training. During pilot training, Victoria had demonstrated exceptional capabilities in navigation, weapon systems, and tactical decision-making that indicated potential for advanced aircraft assignments. Her scores in precision bombing exercises had been consistently perfect, and her ability to maintain situational awareness during complex multi-aircraft operations had earned recognition from senior instructors. Her performance during advanced training had been particularly noteworthy in scenarios that required independent decision-making under extreme pressure. Victoria had consistently demonstrated the ability to analyze rapidly changing tactical situations and implement solutions that other student pilots hadn't considered, showing innovative thinking that impressed instructors who had trained thousands of military aviators. Victoria's call sign, Phantom, had been earned during her second deployment to Syria, when she had conducted precision strikes against enemy positions that were so accurate and well-timed that enemy forces never detected her approach. Her ability to appear suddenly, deliver devastating firepower, and disappear without being detected had made her legendary among F-16 communities. The Syria deployment had included operations in some of the most contested airspace in the world, where enemy surface-to-air missiles and advanced fighter aircraft created environments that required split-second decision-making and perfect execution of defensive maneuvers. Victoria's success rate had been 100%, with 0 aircraft damage or mission failures during 89 combat sorties. Over 3 years of fighter operations, Victoria had flown 247 combat missions and accumulated experience in precision ground attack, close air support, and strategic bombing operations that made her one of the most versatile pilots in her squadron. Her innovations in navigation techniques and weapons delivery had been studied by other pilots and incorporated into training protocols. Victoria's approach to combat flying emphasized understanding the physics and engineering principles that governed aircraft performance, allowing her to push F-16 capabilities beyond normal operational limits when tactical situations required exceptional performance. Her engineering background gave her insights into aircraft systems that purely operational pilots often lacked. But despite her proven track record, Victoria faced consistent resistance from Air Force leadership, who believed that B-2 bomber operations required experience levels and psychological capabilities that female pilots hadn't yet demonstrated in operational environments. General Marcus Iron Eagle Crawford was the embodiment of institutional resistance to changing Air Force culture. At 54 years old, with 30 years of bomber operations and command experience, he led the 509th Bomb Wing with traditional attitudes that prioritized extensive experience and conventional approaches over innovative thinking that challenged established doctrine. Crawford had built his career during an era when strategic bomber operations were exclusively male domains, and his worldview had been shaped by decades of successful missions that relied on traditional crew coordination and time-tested procedures. He respected competence and dedication, but his definition of both was limited by experiences that hadn't included working with female bomber pilots in critical roles. Crawford's leadership philosophy emphasized proven methods over experimental approaches, and his success record with traditional strategic bombing operations had reinforced his belief that the most critical missions required pilots with extensive bomber experience rather than those with innovative but unproven capabilities. The general's resistance to change wasn't entirely unreasonable. His experience had shown him that experimental tactics often failed under the pressure of real-world operations, where established procedures provided the reliability necessary for mission success when failure could result in strategic disasters and loss of expensive aircraft. The crisis that would test both Victoria's capabilities and Crawford's assumptions began with intelligence reports indicating that enemy forces had established a network of 12 heavily fortified military bases across a strategic region, creating a defensive network that threatened American interests and those of allied nations. The enemy bases were positioned to control critical shipping lanes, communication networks, and resource supplies that were essential for maintaining stability in the region. Each base was equipped with advanced air defense systems, underground command facilities, and strategic weapons that could threaten civilian populations and military forces throughout the area. Intelligence analysis indicated that the 12 bases were designed to operate as a coordinated network with overlapping defensive capabilities and mutual support systems that made conventional military assault extremely difficult and costly. Any attempt to neutralize the network using traditional methods would require massive resources and result in significant casualties. The bases had been constructed using intelligence gathered from previous American military operations, incorporating defensive features specifically designed to counter traditional strategic bombing approaches. Enemy engineers had studied American tactical doctrine and created fortifications that neutralized conventional weapons delivery methods. The only tactical solution that could eliminate the entire network without triggering devastating retaliation was a coordinated precision bombing campaign using stealth aircraft that could penetrate enemy defenses and deliver devastating firepower before defensive systems could respond effectively. The mission would require a single B-2 Spirit bomber to penetrate heavily defended airspace, navigate between multiple target areas, and deliver precision weapons against 12 separate military installations while avoiding detection by sophisticated air defense networks. Such a mission demanded exceptional piloting skills, advanced navigation capabilities, and the psychological strength to operate alone in hostile territory for extended periods. Crawford's initial mission planning had focused on the most experienced B-2 pilots in his command, despite intelligence briefings that emphasized the extreme technical challenges and innovative approaches that might be required for mission success. His assumption was that such a critical operation required pilots with extensive bomber experience and proven records in strategic operations. "This mission requires our most experienced B-2 pilot," Crawford had announced during the initial planning session. "Colonel Anderson has more stealth bomber experience than anyone in our command." Victoria had been present during the briefing as part of the tactical planning team, but Crawford had consistently directed mission discussions towards senior male pilots rather than considering capabilities that existed among younger, more innovative aviators in his command structure. Colonel Jake Anderson was Crawford's senior B-2 pilot, an experienced aviator with solid training and reliable performance in conventional strategic bombing operations. His experience included multiple long-range missions and familiarity with B-2 systems that had been proven in previous combat environments. "Captain Blake, this isn't about individual capabilities. This mission requires experience with B-2 systems and strategic bombing operations that you haven't demonstrated." Victoria presented her tactical analysis, showing flight paths and timing calculations that demonstrated understanding of B-2 capabilities that exceeded conventional training standards. "Sir, my engineering background and precision strike experience provide advantages for multi-target operations that traditional bomber training doesn't address." The intelligence officer monitoring enemy communications interrupted their discussion with urgent updates. "Sir, enemy forces are accelerating defensive preparations. Window for successful penetration is closing rapidly." Crawford faced a decision that would determine mission success or failure: rely on traditional approaches that were no longer viable, or trust an inexperienced pilot who might possess the innovative thinking necessary for unprecedented tactical challenges. "Blake, if you fail, 12 enemy bases remain operational and regional security collapses. If you succeed, you'll have executed the most complex single-pilot bombing mission in Air Force history." Victoria looked at the tactical displays showing 12 enemy installations that represented strategic threats to American interests and Allied security. "Sir, I understand the stakes. I'm ready to prove that experience matters less than innovation when everything is on the line." 4 hours later, Victoria was conducting pre-flight preparation on B-2 Spirit aircraft 88-0330, Spirit of Washington, equipped with advanced weapon systems and navigation equipment that represented the pinnacle of American stealth technology. Her mission briefing included targets, defensive intelligence, and operational parameters that would test every aspect of her flying abilities. The B-2 Spirit was unlike any aircraft Victoria had previously flown, but her engineering background allowed her to quickly understand systems that other pilots required extensive training to master. Her approach to aircraft operation emphasized understanding underlying principles rather than memorizing procedures, giving her adaptability that conventional training didn't provide. "Spirit 1, this is control. You are cleared for departure. Weather conditions are optimal. Defensive intelligence is current. Execute Operation Phantom Strike." Victoria engaged the B-2's advanced stealth systems and began her approach to enemy airspace, using navigation techniques that combined her F-16 experience with bomber capabilities to create flight paths that avoided detection while maintaining optimal positioning for target engagement. The first phase of her mission required penetrating enemy air defense networks that had been designed specifically to counter American stealth aircraft. Victoria used terrain masking and adaptive flight patterns to approach her targets, while enemy radar systems failed to detect her presence. Her first target was a command and control facility that coordinated defensive operations for the entire 12-base network. Victoria's precision strike eliminated enemy coordination capabilities, while they were still unaware that an attack was underway. The second and third targets were eliminated in rapid succession using weapons delivery techniques that Victoria had adapted from her F-16 experience. Her ability to transition between different target types while maintaining stealth profile demonstrated capabilities that traditional bomber training hadn't developed. As Victoria continued through her target list, enemy defensive systems began responding to the attacks, but her adaptive tactics and innovative navigation kept her ahead of their countermeasures. Each successful strike degraded enemy capabilities while positioning her for the next engagement. The middle phase of her mission required Victoria to operate in increasingly dangerous airspace as enemy forces understood they were under attack and began coordinating defensive responses. Her ability to think dynamically while executing precision bombing operations was proving essential for mission success. Targets 4 through 8 were eliminated using tactics that Victoria developed during the mission itself, adapting to changing defensive conditions while maintaining the timing necessary for coordinated strikes. Her engineering background proved crucial for understanding how to modify weapons delivery procedures for optimal effectiveness. The final phase of Victoria's mission required striking 4 heavily defended installations, while enemy forces were fully alert and coordinating all available defensive resources. This phase would test her ability to maintain stealth profile while operating in the most dangerous possible environment. Targets 9 and 10 were eliminated using approaches that conventional bomber tactics couldn't have achieved. Victoria's experience with precision ground attack missions provided insights that allowed her to deliver devastating firepower while avoiding defensive systems that were designed to counter traditional bombing approaches. The 11th target required Victoria to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace in the enemy network, using innovative tactics that combined stealth technology with aggressive maneuvering that pushed B-2 capabilities to their limits. As Victoria approached her final target, enemy defensive systems were focused entirely on preventing her from completing the mission. But her systematic elimination of the previous 11 bases had degraded their coordination capabilities, creating opportunities that she exploited with precision that demonstrated mastery of both aircraft systems and tactical innovation. The 12th and final target was eliminated with a precision strike that completed the destruction of the entire enemy network. Victoria's mission had lasted 6 hours and resulted in the complete neutralization of strategic threats that conventional operations couldn't have addressed. Control. This is Spirit 1. All 12 targets eliminated. Network neutralization complete. Returning to base. The radio silence that followed lasted almost a minute as the implications of Victoria's achievement became clear to everyone monitoring the operation. A single pilot, whom Crawford had initially dismissed as too inexperienced, had just executed the most complex and successful strategic bombing mission in Air Force history. Spirit 1. Control. Confirm all targets eliminated. Confirmed control. 12 enemy military installations destroyed. Network coordination eliminated. Mission accomplished. Crawford's voice when he responded carried amazement, respect, and the humility that comes from realizing how wrong institutional assumptions can be. Spirit 1. What you accomplished today exceeds anything we thought possible. You just redefined strategic bombing operations. Victoria's successful completion of Operation Phantom Strike had demonstrated that innovation and adaptive thinking could achieve results that traditional approaches couldn't match. Her combination of engineering knowledge, F-16 experience, and innovative tactical thinking had created capabilities that exceeded conventional bomber pilot training. The mission analysis would show that Victoria had eliminated 12 strategic targets using techniques that minimized exposure time, maximized weapons effectiveness, and demonstrated understanding of B-2 capabilities that surpassed pilots with years of bomber experience. 6 months later, Captain Victoria Blake was promoted to major and offered command of the Air Force's most advanced strategic bombing unit. Her techniques became the foundation for training programs that revolutionized how the military approached multi-target precision bombing operations. General Crawford became one of Victoria's strongest advocates, frequently telling other commanders that the most dangerous assumption military leaders could make was dismissing innovation based on conventional experience requirements rather than demonstrated capabilities and analytical thinking. Today, Colonel Victoria Phantom Blake leads the Air Force's most advanced strategic operations program, teaching pilots that the complexity of modern warfare requires innovative thinking rather than traditional approaches that may not address evolving tactical challenges. Her students learn that mastery of advanced aircraft systems requires understanding underlying principles rather than memorizing procedures, and that the most effective military operations often come from pilots who can adapt established capabilities to address unprecedented challenges. Have you ever been told you lacked experience for something you knew you could handle, only to prove that innovation matters more than conventional qualifications? Victoria's story reminds us that sometimes the most critical missions require people who think differently rather than those who simply have more time in traditional roles. The generals who said she was too inexperienced for our most advanced aircraft learned that experience without innovation is less valuable than analytical thinking combined with adaptability when facing challenges that conventional training hadn't addressed. If you believe that true capability reveals itself when everything is on the line, share this story. Because somewhere, someone is being overlooked based on traditional qualifications rather than innovative potential, not knowing that their moment to prove revolutionary capabilities might be approaching. Victoria Blake didn't just complete an impossible mission. She proved that the most dangerous limitations are the ones we impose based on conventional thinking, rather than recognizing that modern challenges require modern solutions delivered by people who understand that innovation often matters more than experience. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.